Sigurd argued, but there was no arguing with Brunhilde. And so he went out in the world and soon found himself at the hall of Guthrun's brother, Gunnar. Gunnar and his brother Hogna enjoyed Sigurd so much that they made him their blood brother. And soon Gunnar's mother said, "Gunnar, offer Sigurd your sister as his wife." "Mother, Gukings don't offer their sisters as wives. Men ask Gukings for their wives, for their sisters as wives." "Don't worry, Gunnar, he'll ask." And Gunnar's mother, the old queen, brewed up an ale, gave it to her daughter to give to Sigurd, and when Sigurd drank that ale, little Guthrun became the most lovely and attractive woman he had ever seen, and he could barely wait to get the words out to ask to marry her. And after Sigurd and Guthrun were married, Gunnar's mother said, "Gunnar, you also need a wife. You are to marry Brunhilde." "Mother, that is a really bad idea for all kinds of reasons. They say she has gone back behind that wall of flame. I am not the man to ride through a wall of flame. My horse is not the horse to take me through a wall of flame, and it won't work." "Yes, it will, because I will teach you and Sigurd to trade shapes. Sigurd will ride through the flame for you." I still think it's a bad idea. But there was no arguing with the old queen, and Sigurd and Gunnar rode together to the hill where Brunhilde had again established herself behind her wall of flame. The two men changed shapes. Sigurd, looking like Gunnar, rode up the hill through the flame, woke Brunhilde for a second time, informed her that he was Gunnar and he had come to marry her, for she had sworn to marry the man who could ride through the flame, and here he was. They spent the night together with his sword between them, and while she slept, he took the ring that he had placed on her finger back and put a ring of Gunnar's on her hand in its place. And Brunhilde went to her wedding, not entirely sure what had just happened. Shortly after the marriage, Brunhilde and Guthrun went to the river together to bathe. And Brunhilde said to Guthrun, "You go downstream from me. My husband rode through flame for me. I don't have to wash myself in your rinse water." And Guthrun said, "That's not the way it was. My husband rode through the flame for you." "He did not. Look at this ring. That ring you were wearing is on my hand now, because that was Sigurd who rode through the flame in Gunnar's shape." Brunhilde turned, walked back to the hall, lay down on her bed, turned her face to the wall, refused to speak to anybody. And when Gunnar came to ask her what the problem was, she said, "You should know. If you do not send Sigurd away, I am going home." Gunnar asked his brother what he should do. Hogna said, "I'd let her go." "But Hogna, if she goes, she will take all her gold with her, and her brother will arrive on our doorsteps with an army." "That might be easier," Hogna said. And Gunnar said, "You know, since Sigurd supposedly insulted her, I think I'll have him talk to her." So Sigurd went to talk to Brunhilde, who sat straight up in bed. "How could you do this to me?" Brunhilde, you told me to go off and lead the life that fate wove for me, and that included Guthrun." "I'm not talking about Guthrun. How could you help them fool me into marrying Gunnar?" "Well, I couldn't marry you myself, and it just seemed like it'd be nice to have us all in the same hall. If you're not happy, I could love you." "I will not have two husbands in the same hall," She sent him away. She went straight to Gunnar and she said, "You must kill Sigurd, for he has insulted me beyond all belief. And that night we spent behind the flames, the sword was not between us like he said it was. You must kill him." And Gunnar did not have any choice, except that he was Sigurd's blood brother. And so was Hogna, who said, "This is not a good idea." But they had a younger brother who was not a blood brother. They spoke to him, and he said, "That's the greatest hero there is. I'm not going to try to kill him." But their mother baked a snake and fed it to the youngest boy to give him some courage. And he tiptoed into the chamber where Sigurd and Guthrun slept, and he quickly buried his knife in Sigurd's back, and he ran. Sigurd, mortally wounded, sat up, pulled out his sword, flung it at the fleeing assassin. It hit the boy right in the back, cut him in half, top to bottom, so that half of him fell this way and half of him fell that way. And Guthrun, waking, drenched in her beloved's blood, let out a scream like no scream that had ever been heard before, and a cry of grief. Brunhilde heard it. Brunhilde laughed. Brunhilde called to her people, "Build a funeral pyre for Sigurd, and when that is done, lay him on it with his horse and his dogs and his hawks." She picked up a dagger, stabbed herself, and lay me beside him, for we will go together. Gunnar said to Hogna, "Should we let her do this with Sigurd?" "No?" And Hogna said, "Yes, we don't want to bury them. We don't want their spirits walking. Burning is an excellent idea." Guthrun turned her face away from her brother. She would no longer be their sister. She went to Denmark. She spent 3 seasons with a kinswoman. And then Gunnar, Hogna, and her mother came to visit. And Gunnar told her it was her duty to come and marry the man he had chosen for her. It was her duty to marry Atle the Hun and to reweave the peace that had been broken by Brunhilde's death. And Guthrun said, "No, no, and absolutely not." But her mother brewed an ale that washed the anger from her heart, and she went to her wedding with Atle the Hun. And sometime later, Atle said to her, "That ring you wear, Sigurd gave it to you, did he not?" "I wear it in his memory. It does no harm." "Oh, I know. I am sending a message to your brothers, inviting them to come in peace to my hall. Send the ring along so that they know you are no longer angry with them." Guthrun went aside. She took the ring off. She marked the inside with a rune of danger. She tied a wolf's hair around the gold. She put the ring in a bag, and that is what she gave the messenger.